Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hello, Professor.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to get in. And so this is new. So bear with me. I'm still kind of figuring it out. How are you guys doing with your classes? Are they on Zoom?
Mine are on Blackboard and one's on Zoom.
Okay. How's it going? Is it like,
Yeah.
Is it on track? Is it okay?
It's really hard, but like I'm pulling through. And everything's on track, so yeah, like we're still going through the same thing. It's just a lot harder to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've never done this before, so I'm just kind of figuring it out. I think it's better than nothing, though. You know, if we try to just have a class done through email, I think it's, you know, what are we really doing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so what I want to talk to you guys about is, well, we'll start with poetry. I struggle with this a little bit, to be honest. The reason being is you know, with everything that's going on, I was struggling a little bit trying to find the meaning in speaking to you guys about poetry tonight, you know? And then I realized that we just have to move forward, you know? I mean, sitting around and, you know, trying to, I don't know, just read the news, you know, it's not helping anything. I think the best thing that we can do is try to move forward as normal and, you know, just try our best to just kind of make things as normal as possible. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you feel like discouraged in some of your classes? Do you feel like, you know, this is a little bit to the point where it's like, what are we doing?
For me, like I take 4 classes, so like I thought I could handle online class, but it's honestly a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like just keeping up with deadlines, keeping up with like making sure that I wake up on time for the class, because like now I don't have to wake up earlier. I just like wake up 5 minutes before and I'm like in class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, it's so weird, right? There's no commuting anymore.
So weird. And then it's a lot harder because I'm taking statistics right now and I have to learn everything by myself now, and I'm struggling.
It's a lot of independent learning, right?
It's so hard.
So I'm not gonna, you know, hold it against you guys about what we're gonna learn. You know, I'm not gonna like, you know, be real hard because some of it's real technical stuff. You know, poetry. There's a lot of things that go into poetry that are not stuff you see every day. You know, the fiction, you know, is a little bit more familiar to most students. I think a lot of times poetry can be very, you know, out there. You know, so bear with me, and we'll try to make this as familiar as possible for you. And what I'm going to try to do is instead of an essay for the closed form poetry, what I'm probably going to have you guys do is write a poem. I think that would be a fun way to get a grade rather than writing an essay about a poem. What do you guys think?
Okay.
I think that's actually really fun. I mean, I like poems. I like writing poetry, so that'd be really interesting.
All right, cool. If you want to talk, you just have to unmute your audio, and then if you can mute it again after you talk, just so we don't have a million people talking.
Got it.
Aisha.
So I'm sorry, I missed what was happening. Came in a little late.
You're late for class?
Yeah. What was that about the essay? For the poem?
Yeah, so the next essay, it's not going to be an essay. It's going to be you writing a poem.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to show you your choices today.
What? I think that will allow us to be creative.
I think it'll be easier than writing a 4-page essay, right?
No,
Agreed.
not
Yeah.
at all.
Well, let me go through it and you tell me what your guys' thoughts are after we do it. So I'm
Could
gonna,
we
yeah, go ahead.
Could we have like an option, like we can either do the essay or we could do a poem?
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end, and then we'll see where everybody stands. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, did you guys get your papers feedback? Did anybody? I posted a video about how to find your feedback. Did anybody have any trouble finding their feedback?
Nope.
For the essay number 1, I'm talking about.
No.
Did you guys get the revision thing that I posted today in the announcements?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're allowed to revise. You don't have to, but I suggest that you do, And the Writing Center is open for online submissions, so you can send it in online if you want, and you don't have to go in person, obviously. But any confusion about what the things that I was asking for in the revision?
No, so that's gonna be for extra credit, no?
Yeah, like if you want a better grade on the paper kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you feel that, I want to work on this a little bit more, just use those 4 steps that I had. One is go to the Writing Center. Another is revise the paper according to my feedback. Another is get something signed from the writing people. And then the 4th one is to have a little 250-word paragraph that states, what you changed and why. That helps me because I can see, because it's hard. I don't know exactly what you changed. You hand me a paper, I don't know. But if you tell me oh, I changed this here, I changed that there, it makes a little bit more sense for me to be able to see what you changed. Oh, the other thing is make sure you hand in the old one too, because it helps me to kind of go back and forth. Any other questions about that? Some of you, if you didn't hand in a paper, let me know why, because I noticed a lot of you didn't hand it in. I don't know.
So if we emailed it to you first, do we email the revision paper to you again, or?
Yeah, you can email me the revisions.
Okay.
There won't be a Dropbox for that, but yeah, just email it to me. Shanae, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
we email the first copy and then the revision again.
Yeah, but you have to take the paper to the online writing center.
Okay.
Shanae, I'll get yours to you tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, I think yours is the only one I didn't get to yet.
What's the revision?
Oh no, sorry, I was talking to myself.
No, it's all right.
Go ahead.
Well, what's the revision due date?
The last day of classes, which is May 14th.
Oh, okay.
One thing I want to kind of say is that because of what's going on and everything, we're going to have class through the break. So I'm sorry about that, but yeah, it took me a little longer to get online than I thought it would. And we missed a lot of time. So if you can't make it, you're on vacation, I don't know where you're going right now, but let me know, and I'm going to tape the classes so you can watch it, afterwards or whatnot. Any questions about that? So basically we're having every Tuesday and Thursday, same time until the semester ends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to just jump right in with a, let's see, what did I want to talk? Did you guys see the PowerPoint that I put up last week?
For
Yeah.
the closed poetry.
Yeah, it's about the closed form, yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm going to show you a little video. Basically describes what closed form poetry means and stuff like that. It's only 2.5 minutes. So and I want to try sharing my screen because I haven't done that yet. So let me know if you can't see it for some reason. Sorry, hang on one sec. I didn't realize that the screen thing is like right in the way of my where I wanted to click. Oh wait, I can move it. Okay,
Yeah,
there
you
we go.
can.
I didn't know I could move it. All right. All right, so here it is.
Sonnets, a la.
I am so stressed out.
Professor, could you
Sonnet.
please
A la Schmuck.
click the closed caption?
Yep.
Hope you
Thank
like your
you.
poems with a little structure. Free verse poetry is a popular form nowadays as it allows a poet to write without strict guidelines or rhyme or meter. On the opposite end of the spectrum is the sonnet, which doesn't really believe in writing outside of the box. That's not to say that there isn't room for creativity in a sonnet, but you'd better be creative using imagery rather than fiddling with format. Okay, so who are these authoritarian poems who don't believe in rule breaking? Well, sonnets are 14-line poems, yes, 14 lines exactly, and they follow a very rigid rhyme scheme. There are actually a few different types of sonnets, but the most famous is the Shakespearean, or English sonnet. Bill Shakespeare wrote over 150 of these bad boys, which is why they're named after him. He also had over 150 unpaid itemized statements, which is why those are today called bills.
Everyone know that?
In a Shakespearean sonnet, the rhyming pattern is A, B, A, B, C, B, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. Or, to express that in terms that aren't a hodgepodge of letters, the lines that rhyme with one another in a typical English sonnet are the first and third, the second and fourth, the fifth and seventh, the sixth and eighth, the ninth and 11th, the 10th and 12th, and finally the last two. Any deviation from that structure, and you no longer have a sonnet, sorry. That's a lot of pressure on a poor little poem. And yet, there's more. English sonnets use iambic pentameter, which relates to the words or syllables that are stressed in each line of the poem. Although with so many rules in place, it's a wonder the entire poem isn't just stressed.
I am need to relax.
If we take a look at the first couple lines of our sample sonnet, you can see that every other syllable gets a bit of emphasis. It's almost like the rhythmic beating of a drummer. So yeah, a sonneteer is bound by quite a few stringent rules, but that structure doesn't prevent sonnets from hitting us on a gut level. In fact, it almost turns them into little songs, which is what the word actually means. And that smooth cadence pattern draws us in rather than closes us off. Read all 150 plus of Shakespeare's sonnets and see if you agree. Good luck not speaking in iambic pentameter for the rest of the week.
I am so stressed out.
So what do you guys, did you guys know that the bill is named after Shakespeare?
Nope.
No,
Not
I
at
just
all.
found out.
It's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm still playing around my screen. Like the thing where I used to use the video thing is like in the way sometimes. So I'm like moving it around. So what I wanted to do was talk a little bit before we got into like, oh, what's a Spenserian sonnet and what's a Petrarchan sonnet and all that kind of stuff. What I wanted to do was talk to you a little bit about literary devices, so we know kind of like what we're even talking about. Did you guys get a chance to see that I posted the literary devices in the materials section?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up right now. I had it and then I closed it out by accident. Here it is. I think I could stop sharing my screen now. Stop share, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So now I'm pulling up the literary devices. All right, so I'm going to share the screen again. It's up. All right, so does everybody recognize this? I think I handed it out to you, and I put it in the Blackboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think we're talking about mostly when we're talking about closed form? What part of this? I'll give you options. Sounds, meaning, arrangement, or images. Which one? Sound, meaning, arrangement, or images. Which one is mostly concerned when we're talking about closed form?
Sound?
Sound, no. I won't possibly.
I tried.
Sound, well, not sound.
Is
Images,
it,
structure,
is it meaning?
possibly.
Okay.
Structure, or what's the other one? Structure.
Structure.
Yeah,
Imagery.
yeah, structure. So why do we call it closed? Anybody know?
Because it's predetermined already.
What did it say?
Because it's predetermined, so you can, if you break it down, it's no longer a closed form.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good way to put it. Freedom is good when we think about it, like ideologically, but freedom in a poem means it's no longer in closed form. Closed form is very prescripted. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do, because I've done this before and it's actually kind of fun and a little bit frustrating. I'm not going to lie. You have to rhyme in certain sections, and you have only a certain number of syllables to work with, so you really got to, it's like a puzzle. It's like, oh, I have to put X number of words on this line and you can't go over. And I got to rhyme these 2 lines, and I got to stay in this form. It's very constricting, but it's kind of fun and at the same time. I was asked to write a poem. I'm not a poet. I really like poetry. But has anybody written closed poetry here that rhymes and has meter and stuff like that? Or you mostly write free form?
I used to do it in high school for like assignments. It was so difficult. I'm terrible at writing poetry.
Okay, all right. So at least you know what you've done it before. So I want to skip down when we're talking about poetry here. I want to talk to you a little bit about this section here where there comes in the arrangement. And I want to talk to you about, well, so what's a stanza? Anybody know what a stanza is? I got that up. Can you see my screen? Yes? You can see my screen?
You see? Yeah.
Okay. See stanza here? Where have you seen that? Like, what's a stanza in your own mind?
Is it like a stanza for, like, in terms of poetry, like the breakings of it? So like the first beginning is a stanza, and then the second half of it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Whenever you have like a space between like big paragraphs of poems, you have stanzas. So if you have like one here, and one here, you have 3 stanzas. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So think about that when you're breaking up your poetry. Stanzas are often used to sort of set the tone, and they're not the tone, but the structure of the poem. Now, oftentimes sonnets will only have 1 stanza because they're in very prescriptive form, so it's not really going to be enough room for more stanzas. But just know, if you ever see, like, we'll look at poetry for Thursday that's free verse, and that'll have more than 1 stanza. But a lot of time these sonnets, they're only 14 lines, so there's not really a lot of room for extra stanzas. Now, what I really want to talk to you about is rhyme scheme. Now, if we read this thing here, it says a popular rhyme scheme of A-B is called alternate rhyme. What does that mean? Have you guys ever seen that before? What's A-B? What are they talking about?
How they rhyme. A is like the last word, it ends in a certain word that it rhymes with the 3rd line.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're talking about A-B, you're talking about the 1st and the 3rd lines rhyme at the very end of the sentence, and the 2nd and 4th lines rhyme at the end of the sentence. So you're not looking at rhymes in the middle of the sentence. You're not looking at rhymes in the beginning of the sentence. It's always the last word of the poem, of the line. Does that make sense? The last word of the poem is where you define your rhyme scheme. So again, if you have A-B, you're talking about A First line rhymes with the third line. Second line rhymes with the fourth line. Any questions about that?
Mm.
All right. So other things that we have that we want to look at here would be the fixed form here, which is fixed means closed. So it's the same thing. Now, what makes it fixed? It follows a meter, a rhyme scheme, a stanza form, and a refrain. Now, what we're talking about, meter, we haven't really talked about that yet. We just talked about rhyme scheme. So we're talking about the last word in the line of the poem. Stanza form we kind of touched on. You see how it's made up. A lot of times you only have one stanza for some of these sonnets. You know, in free verse you're going to have a lot more stanzas probably. What about meter? What's meter? Anybody know?
Is it is it about rhythm? Something about rhythm?
Freedom?
How no. Rhythm.
Rhythm. Yes, it is about rhythm.
Yeah.
Yes. It's got a lot to do with rhythm. And this always confused me when I was a student studying like any kind of poetry. Has anybody ever heard of iambic pentameter? Some of you?
I don't remember anything about it.
So iambic pentameter is the way, I'm not going to really go into too much, stress and detail about this. Just know it exists. Iambic pentameter is what most poetry is written in back in the 16th century. You're talking about Elizabethan era, you're talking about Victorian era poetry, you had to have a certain number of syllables in each line. All right. And the syllables for pentameter, how many syllables do you think for pentameter? Penta means what?
I don't want to say pentagram, but I'm gonna say pentagram.
Yeah, how much? What's the number?
That's devil stuff. I don't know. 5?
No, what's the number of in a penta?
5.
5, right, exactly. So basically you're gonna have 5 stressed and 5 unstressed syllables. That adds up to 10. So you should have 10 syllables in each line. How do you count the syllables? Any idea? So let's take a look at one of these sonnets here, right? Here's a Spenserian sonnet. Let's look at the first line. Can everybody see the first line?
Mm-hmm.
One day I wrote her name upon the strand. The way to count the syllables, I use my fingers. It's pretty sad. But one day I wrote her name upon the strand. 10 syllables. That means it's in what? Iambic pentameter, right? Because we said penta means 5. So if you have double, stressed, unstressed, we have 10. So anywhere where you count the lines, right, and you have 10, 10, 10, 10, it's an iambic pentameter. That's IAMBIC. Iambic pentameter. PENTAMETER. So go ahead.
One line is supposed to have 10 altogether?
Yeah,
Or,
10 syllables in each line.
okay, and then is this still kind of applying to the rules of the sonnet where it has to be 14 and AB?
That's what makes it tough, because you got to have 10 syllables in each line. You got to have 14 lines, and they have to rhyme in a certain way. That's what makes the sonnet challenging.
But wait, for the second line, it is not 10, or am I just confused?
Yeah, so this one, if you count it specifically, but came the waves and washed it away, I'm counting 9.
Yeah.
So it's close enough. I've struggled with this too, because I've seen like Spenserian sonnets and like other sonnets that are supposed to be iambic pentameter. It's like, wait, this one has 11 and this one has 9.
Yeah.
It has to be very, very close to that. And also think about it this way: when he wrote this was 16th century, 1500s. So he may have stressed things differently. The way that we're stressing the words may be a little bit different than the way he would stress them at that time. So, but think in general terms. 10 is, if you have a 9 thrown in there, it's not like it doesn't destroy the whole form. But yeah, so like let's look at another one here. All right, so you guys will probably recognize this. What's this from? Two households, both alike in dignity. What is this from?
I mean, the killing, Romeo and Juliet.
Right, right. Did you know that that was written all in iambic pentameter?
No.
That must have been so stressful.
Think about that.
Wait, that's a whole play.
That's a whole play.
How do you do that?
Exactly.
That's what I want to know.
I read it, but I never read it like that. Wow, really?
Yeah, me either.
Telling you, man. That's why these people were brilliant. Shakespeare, Spencer, you know, all the old poets. They could write entire plays in this form, you know. And think about how hard it is to write a play, you know, and then to write it in where you have to have 10 syllables in each line, you know.
That must take forever.
Yeah, but you know that was the way they wrote back then. It was in closed form. We don't have a lot of closed form these days, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure it still exists. I don't read a lot of like modern poetry, but I don't see a lot of like, you know, sonnets being written these days. Do you guys?
No,
Not
I don't really read poetry to begin with. So like I'm really uncultured.
Well, good for you. That's really good. way to say it. No, I'm kidding. I don't either, to be honest. But yeah, so this is a style you should know, but you probably won't see it today, you know, written today. I mean, you could. But yeah, this is Romeo and Juliet. That's pretty crazy, right? He's writing in sonnets of, you know, a very, very specific form. I just want to go over a couple other poetic devices. I don't really need you guys to know all this stuff. You ever heard of a haiku?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have, but I don't know what it means.
That's like the Japanese style, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 unrhymed lines of 5, 7, 5 syllables. You won't be able to use this one as an essay, though. I want you to actually write, you know, a longer form. Not that I don't value the haiku, but it's really, really short. It's literally like 5 syllables. Think of it like a sentence that has 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. And that's it. That's the poem. If you notice, a lot of like old style like plays were written in closed form. So when you're reading it, it sounds really weird, you know, like I'm talking like Oedipus the King, or we talked about that in class. And, you know, a lot of Sophocles' stuff like Antigone and stuff like that. We're actually going to take a look at Antigone. You'll notice that it's written in with a certain number of syllables in each line. And sometimes, you know, has regular rhyme too. So what's the main thing that makes closed form different from free verse? So now you've had a little bit of background. What's the main sort of gist that you get from that's different from like something that you could just whip out and not have any structure?
More rules?
Yeah, more rules. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
close form poetry is like more stricter than free form. Like free form you could just, you know, do whatever you want without it being criticized.
It's like free writing versus writing a 5-paragraph essay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the difference. It's like, or, you know, stream of consciousness writing where you're writing whatever you want versus writing in a very, you know, I have to have a thesis statement. I have to have 5 paragraphs, you know. So think of it that way. And I think that's, you know, pretty much you got it right. Just want to go over a couple other things before I jump right into the PowerPoint. Did you guys get the PowerPoint that I put online? Yeah, I already asked that, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk about things that you might see inside a poem, which are important to kind of like point out. You guys know metaphors, right? That's going to be in there, right? A lot of like lines of poetry and imagery is a direct metaphor for something else, right? I mean, we know that, right? It's the same as fiction. It's just in a verse form. You're going to see personification. You're going to see similes, which is using like or as, like he's dumb as an ox. Her eyes are like comets, right? You know, these kind of things. That is a simile. A metaphor is where you have a direct comparison of 2 unlike things, but you don't use like or as. Her love is like a red, red rose. You know, that's a simile. You know, you're going to see symbols. You're going to see a point of view. But here's one thing about when you ever refer to poetry, right? We always talk about author, you know, you use the author page number when we're talking about fiction. But you don't ever use author anymore when you're talking about poetry. You use the term the speaker. The speaker is the person who's telling the poem. It's not the narrator, and it's not the author. And it's not an author anyway when you're talking about that. You're talking about poets. So if you ever refer to the actual author of a poem, it's the poet. But if you're talking about the narrator of the poem, it's called the speaker. It's not the narrator. Now, notice you still have these kind of points of view that we already know, right? First person, third person limited, third person omniscient. That could still pertain because, you know, you have poetry that has characters in it. You know, maybe not sonnets, you know, they're too short. But longer poetry has characters in it, you know, and they have points of view. So just keep that in mind, you know, that the same points of view rules that we talked about in class still apply here. So we talked about stanzas. We talked about rhyme scheme. And jamming is pretty cool, and that's not usually found in closed form poetry. It's mostly found in like free verse because it's sort of like this thing that you can kind of just stop a line in the middle of it and then go on to the next line. Why would you ever want to do that in a poem? Any ideas?
You said, why would you want to like skip around?
Why would you want to stop mid-sentence and continue your poem on the next line rather than completing the thought?
Two different points, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you want to show contrast. Yeah, that's a good reason. What else?
Maybe to force a pause.
Yeah, a forced pause in the middle to you know, emphasize the next line. You know, and
Or maybe for dramatization.
Dramatization, yeah, absolutely. I thought you weren't joining.
Well, I have my math class on my computer.
Oh, okay. So you're okay joining?
Yeah. We took a break in the class to do some work, but I finished my work, so I'm just waiting to rejoin it.
All right, cool.
Two classes together right now?
Well, today is supposed to be Wednesday.
Oh yeah, they said.
I'll show you guys. I'm on my math class right now on Blackboard.
That's right. My criminology professor said that yesterday.
I knew that was happening, but I really didn't have a choice. I had to really kind of get this going because you know, we lost a lot of time.
He said English is more important.
I agree. That's a really good point. Valid point.
I mean, when am I ever going to use A plus B equals Z? So
you may write poetry. You may write poetry one day. So, clearly, this is a better way to spend your time. But so yeah, in Jammin', if you ever see it, sometimes there'll be a one of those EM dashes, which is like the long dash, and then the next line will start on the next the next words will start on the next line. Sometimes they'll just cut the next word off and just kind of like start it on the next line. So it just gives you that jarring, like, oops, you know, it didn't finish the thought, and it kind of makes you continue it on the next line. These are things that poets do to like sort of influence. You know how fiction writers can have more play with like words and having characters and backstories and things like that. These are like tools in a poet's toolbox. You know, they have tools as well to use to sort of like manipulate the reader. So this is, you know, something that it's good to know these things when, you know, oh, that's in Jammin'. Okay. And you have this online if you don't have the handout I gave you. This is online, so you can take a look at this anytime you want.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
For like poetry, because I noticed it basically while we were reading the stuff, the poems that you gave us.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them are like, for example, the poem to stop all the clocks, cut off the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the line, every time he enters or every time they start a new line, it's always capitalized. But then if you look at the poem under it, Woodchucks, when they start a new line, like for the third line,
yeah,
undercased. Is that like on purpose, or is there supposed?
Yeah, it's definitely on purpose. It's a way for poets to manipulate the words because think about it, they don't have that many words to manipulate, so every little thing they do makes a reason, you know. And it's kind of our duty as like literary people that want to, you know, study literature to find out what that meaning is, you know. And it's open to interpretation, just like, you know, when we talked about the Connie story. You know, a lot of people had different ideas about what it means, you know. It's the same sort of thing with a poem, you know. Somebody could say like, oh, you know, this is something that the poet is doing intentionally, but what is it really doing here? And, you know, there's no one right answer. You know, I would say, you know, for emphasis, I'm just pulling up the syllabus to see which poems that we're looking at specifically. Did you guys like those poems, by the way?
Yeah, I liked them. I mean, they actually were. I think what was the one that actually threw me off was the
Woodchucks.
Woodchucks. Yeah, Woodchucks.
Yeah, I
realized
was not expecting that.
It was actually about like, you know, an individual fighting woodchucks. Like I thought it was like a metaphor. But
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is intentional. Does anyone know what that refers to? Like what kind of metaphor could that be of the woodchucks that we read?
I don't know. I took it literal, honestly. But then at the beginning of it, I thought they were in a battle. Like just because of this, it was like stopped all the clocks, cut off the phones, prevent the dog from barking with the juicy bones, silence the piano with the muffin. Oh wait, no.
That's the other one, right?
Yeah, that's the wrong one. Sorry. It was where was it? The knockout bomb from the feed and grain exchange was featured as mercifully quick at the bone, and the case we had against them was airtight, both as it shoehorn shut with putting stone, which I actually did not know what the hell that was. So like that those lines right there, honestly, I thought, oh, are we in like a battle and they've like cornered their enemy? I don't know. That's just me. I'm very war.
So that's probably the most complicated one of all of them, to be honest. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. It does follow some closed form, but you'll notice there's some open form in there as well, which is kind of like a bridge to our next assignment. So let me talk about the traditional ones first, and then we'll move on. So I want to go over this PowerPoint real quick. I'm going to share my screen again. So this is the PowerPoint that's online, and I just kind of want to, I don't expect you guys to memorize this, and it's really complicated, some of it, but I just want you to be aware of it. And this is the assignment I'm going to give you, is to write one of these types of sonnets. And your choices will be Petrarchian, Shakespearean, Spenserian, and that's it. You have 3 choices. So it's going to be due next Tuesday. I'm going to have you put it in the Turnitin just so I know you're not copying it from some other poem or something. So don't think about, oh, I'm going to just cut and paste this other poem and just put it in there, you know. Oh, yeah. So I was going to ask you to do either a sonnet, a sestina, or a rondo. And I'm going to let me go over those. So you know what the hell I'm talking about. So yeah, so sonnets are in either English or Italian, right? English are broken up into 2 groups: Spenserian, which is Edmund Spenser, or William Shakespearean, and they call it Shakespearean. Italian sonnets are usually just called Petrarchian. However, even though there's different between English and Italian, you're still talking about 14 lines of poetry. It has to be 14 lines, and it has to be an iambic pentameter, which means what?
Oh, 10 syllables?
10 syllables per line. How do you figure out the syllables? You count them on your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do. Seriously, if you see 10 syllables and 10 syllables, you know you're dealing with a closed form sonnet. So the Shakespearean sonnet follows a very, very specific rhyme scheme. It's 14 lines, like we said, but the rhyme scheme is very particular. It's A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. What does that mean?
That's the
So A and A have to rhyme, B and B have to rhyme, C and C have to rhyme, D and D. I mean, I've done this type of poem before.
So you're familiar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Is this PowerPoint available on Blackboard?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna look at it on the.
Can you guys mute your audio if you're not talking? Can everybody mute their audio if they're not talking? All right, thanks. Yeah, if you want to talk, just unmute. Yeah, so A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. And let's take a look at what that looks like. And I'm going to pull up the one that we had for class. Now, where do you see A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, G? Where do you see that here? You have to unmute to
wait, where?
talk.
And the rhyme scheme?
Yep. Wait, can you point it out? Can you see my screen?
I mean, I just see the Shakespeare.
Yeah, but I could only see the Shakespeare sonnet.
That's what I want you to point out. Yeah, where is he doing A, B, C, D, C, D?
No, but I mean like the PowerPoint?
No, I moved off the PowerPoint. I'm looking at Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah, I'm still looking at the PowerPoint right now.
I'm still looking at the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm like looking at like where you.
Sorry about that. Let me go back.
Let me see.
Here, can you see that?
Now I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still sharing the PowerPoint, sorry. Yeah, so where do we see A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, G here?
So the first line.
Third line or A and A.
Oh, so minds and finds.
Second and fourth.
Love and remove, mark and bark, shaken and taken, cheeks and weeks, come and doom, and proved and loved.
Right. Yeah. Is there any confusion about that? You see where they're getting that A, B, C, D thing from?
Yeah.
It's pretty formulaic. Once you recognize it, you know, you see the last word is what's being rhymed here. And you can just kind of see it's very formulaic. You know, every Shakespearean sonnet has to follow 14 lines and it has to have this same rhythm. So, but what about the meter? Do we have iambic pentameter here? Can somebody tell me yes or no?
I was just trying to figure that out. I don't think so. But as I was counting, you said it has to be like close enough.
Let's do the first line.
Okay.
Give me the first line.
That is, let me not to the marriage and show my. That's 9.
That's 9.
Well,
let,
10.
Yeah.
Let me
not
marry
to the marriage
Oh.
to my.
That's 10.
10 syllables. What about the second line?
Oh.
admit. I don't know how to say that. How you say that?
Impediments.
Admit.
Impediments.
It's not.
Love.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that's 10.
All right. And what about the third line?
Which
alters when it alteration. Fine, that's 11, I think. Let me see. I don't know.
Are you counting right?
Wait, no, wait. Which alters?
Which alters?
It's 10.
Alteration.
It's
Fine.
10.
So
10,
basically, it's all 10.
Alteration.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the whole thing.
That's
You just notice that it's pretty much 10 each. I mean, you know, very, very, you know, pretty much right on. So that means
Because
it's
doesn't it have to be like between a certain amount of syllables, each line?
Yes, that's exactly what we're getting at. We're talking about 10 syllables in each line.
And how do you
Okay,
pronounce it
okay.
again? You said iambic.
Iambic pentameter.
Okay.
Here, I'll pull it up. You see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's 10 syllables in each line. Now you're talking about stressed and unstressed syllables, but you know, I'm not really too concerned about like that gets a little technical. I'm not going to ask you to worry too much about that, but just know that it's 10 syllables in each line. 5 unstressed, 5 stressed usually.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about this because that's what I'm going to ask you to do for Tuesday is to write a sonnet or something else that has you know a certain number of syllables. So start thinking about you know how you're going to do this.
Wait, are we writing a poem for Tuesday or are we writing it on Tuesday?
You're going to have it in the Dropbox on Tuesday, a week from today. I think a week is enough time to do a poem, right?
I mean, the poem does us, so it really comes
Yeah.
whenever you feel.
I did it. I'm not a poet, and I wrote one in iambic pentameter.
But I'm
You know what? I'll share it with you guys if you want. I think I have it on my computer somewhere. I'll post it just so you can see my attempt at poetry, which is a little funny.
So are we writing it? The poem can be whatever we want to talk about?
Yeah, it's your poem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's can you guys see the PowerPoint or now you can't see the PowerPoint?
Cannot.
No, I see the
Okay.
Google page.
So what do I have to do? I have to
see
stop
it.
share every time I go back to the internet? Does anybody know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. You do.
All right. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
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 Back.
So we just covered the Shakespeare. This is the classic, love poems are usually written in this form, he wrote so many of these sonnets to like loved ones and things like that it it's very very, very common to see a Shakespearean sonnet, especially back in the day. But there is also a thing called the Spenserian sonnet. Now, if you notice, it's a little bit different. We're talking about Edmund Spenser, also a medieval writer, 3 quatrains and 1 couplet. Don't worry so much about that. Can anybody tell me what the couplet is?
You said what the what?
The couplet. There's 3 quatrains and a couplet.
A couplet is a pair of lines usually rhymed.
And where do you see that here?
The last one? Last sentence? The last
And wait, where?
This, right here. Can you see this?
Yeah, A and A, B and B.
No, that's not the couplet.
So couplet
Oh.
is E and E?
Yeah, right
Oh.
here. The couplet is always at these sonnets. The couplet is always at the end. Notice that, because A and B is not a couplet, right? A couplet is E and E or G and G, that kind of thing. And they usually come at the very end. If they're in iambic, here's a little fun fact that you probably don't need to know. If they're in iambic pentameter, which means they have 10 syllables in each line, and they're in heroic couplet form, that's actually a form that you can use in a different type of sonnet. That'll be called, you'll be recognized as having a heroic couplets. That's what they're called, heroic couplets. So if your whole entire poem has got E E E or A B B C C D D, that's called the poem in heroic couplets. That's just. But sometimes they have poems like this one, the Spenser, which only has heroic couplets at the very end. Now, if we go back to the Spenser, Shakespeare, we'll see there's also heroic couplets here.
Mm-hmm.
What rhyming each line does, or every 2 lines, what do you think that does for the poem? Like if you rhymed A, B, B, C, C, D, D.
I don't know. I think it makes it boring.
It gives a rhythm.
Definitely gives it a rhythm. I mean, the boredom might come in at some point. But yeah, the rhythm, it gives it like a swaying rhythm. It's like, you have these 2 rhymes and 2 rhymes and 2 rhymes. It's like waves rolling in,
And I think it also captivates the audience more when when poems kind of have that rhythm to it, rather than, I don't know if you ever saw like a long piece of poetry that just goes on and it doesn't really like make sense. You have to read it like a couple times to get it.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up. Here's an example. Let me go back to my share thing here. All right. So yeah, here's an example of heroic couplets. Now think about this. This is an entire poem written in heroic couplets. I mean, a long poem. I'm talking about a poem that's like a play. It has characters and battles, and it's all written in heroic couplets. And how do you know it's in heroic couplets? So what do you see here? Hello?
Let me see.
Can you see what I'm showing you?
The last two, yeah, the last two words. Let me see.
Lie and sky.
Join, declined.
Is that
lie, the sky.
Yeah, so this is AABB, right?
Yeah.
This one up here we see, you know, AA, right? This is actually the poem that we were looking at with Marriage of True Minds. And the last two lines are in heroic couplets. So that you don't really need to, you know, I'm not going to quiz you on that or anything like that, but it's good to know.
Huh.
And it's interesting to think that somebody might have written an entire play in poetry form and it's in heroic couplets where every two lines have to rhyme. Don't all speak at once. This kind of starting to feel a little bit more normal. Yeah or no?
Yeah, it is. I forget when I have my thing on mute. So like I'm talking, but then I realize like, oh my.
Okay, because I can't hear anything. Yeah, okay. So here we go with some more PowerPoint stuff. The Shakespearean sonnet. A quatrain is the first grouping. So how many is quatrain? We said penta is 5. How many is quatra?
4.
4, right. So a quatrain is going to only contain 4 lines. And each line is, each grouping is going to form a quatrain. So you have 3 quatrains and a couplet. The couplet is clearly 2, right? Couple 2. So that's not a quatrain, right? So if you ever see 4 lines and 4 lines, those are quatrains. And in a Shakespearean sonnet, it has to be 3 quatrains and a couplet. It has to be like that. That's just the only way they do it. If it's not in that, then it's not a sonnet. Now this one gets a little bit more complicated. So you may choose to do this one. This is called an Italian sonnet, the Petrarchian sonnet. And the rhyme scheme is very complex. If you notice, it's A-B-B, A-A-B-B-A, C-D, E-C-D-E.
You ain't getting that from me.
So it gets pretty complex. Let me show you an example of that. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. So let's read this one. Can somebody read this one out loud?
When I consider how my light is spent, airy half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodge with me useless, though my soul more bent, to serve therewith my maker and present. My true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact day labor light denied. I fondly ask, but patience to prevent, that murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts, who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, kingly thousands, and at his bidding speed, and posts o'er land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait.
So what do you guys notice is different about a Petrarchian sonnet that's different from an Elizabethan sonnet?
The first line and the fourth line rhyme, and the
Right.
middle,
Spent. We got spent and bent. Yep.
right?
Wide and hide
The
rhyme.
first two. Yep.
You see that?
Yeah,
So,
and the last two lines they don't rhyme at all.
right. So if we go back to the
And then the 1, 2, 3, the fourth, and the fifth.
yeah, if we go back to the PowerPoint, you'll notice that the last line and the fourth to the last line rhyme. Okay. How many stanzas does this have by comparison to the other one?
You said PowerPoint? I'm looking at Google.
Yeah. Let's just keep on here for a sec.
Oh, okay.
So this is still one stanza, right? So we're not talking about changing stanzas, right?
Mm-hmm.
We still only have one stanza. But what's really different here? We're really just changing the rhyme scheme, right?
And
So we have weight, state. See the state here? State, weight. Rest, best. See where we're rhyming here? Need, speed. But this part of the poem is a little bit different than the other part of the poem. So it's almost in two parts. Like this part of the poem right here, where it starts with the either, starts a different form of the poem. Best, rest, state, weight, speed and need. Actually, so actually right here is what I'm talking about. This starts a different sort of part of the poem. Need, speed, best, rest, state, weight. And then this top part is a little different. It's spent, bent, wide, hide, present, prevent, shy, denied.
But can't there be like different formats? It doesn't always have to be A, is it?
If you're doing a Petrarchian sonnet, it has to be exactly this form. You cannot differ. If you're doing a Spenserian sonnet, it has to be an exact form. If you're doing a Shakespearean sonnet, it has to be an exact form. Those are all closed form poetry, which you can't deviate from. What about the meter? How many syllables are we talking about here? Can somebody count?
I am. Let me see.
Still 10.
Yes, 10.
Yeah, still 10. So it's in iambic.
Iambic pentameter.
Iambic pentameter, exactly. So we're not changing the meter. We're changing the rhyme scheme. What about the lines? Are we changing the number of lines?
No, it's still 14.
14.
Exactly. So it's the same amount of lines as a Shakespearean sonnet. It's the same amount of syllables as a Shakespearean sonnet, but we're just changing the rhyme scheme. Does that make sense?
But it's not in the quatrain, right? Am I saying
Yeah,
that
this is a little different from the quatrain form of the sonnet. Here we don't have quatrains. There's no 4 lines that are same. Well, actually, that's not true. Let me rephrase that. The first 8 lines are in quatrain form. The next 6 lines are not. Can anybody see the quatrains in the first line? I mean, the first part. What repeats in the first part in 4-line forms?
It's A, B, B, A. And then it's C, D, D. And then it's C again.
C, yeah. C, D, D, C. Yeah.
And then
so we have 2. No, the next part is not quatrains though, because there's no 4 lines that repeat that way. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, then it's
the first 4 lines are in the exact same form as the next 4 lines.
Because then it's A, B, B, A again. And then the last 2 are just different. So it's like E, E.
Right. So the first 4 lines are a quatrain. The second 4 lines are a quatrain. Then it goes to a 6-line different form. So, but it's not the same. You know how we have 4 quatrains, 4 quatrains, 4 quatrains, and a 2 heroic couplets in the other form. We don't have that here, right? We have quatrain 1, quatrain 2, and then we have this 6 line form that's different from that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go back to the PowerPoint. So yeah, again, it's ABBA, right? That's 4, right? And then it's ABBA, which is another 4. Those are 2 quatrains. But then you have this weird form, CDE, CDE. These are 3. These are like triplets, right? CDE, CDE, right? So you're talking about a triplets instead of a quatrain.
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult, but you guys get it, right? You know, you see why we're talking about ABBA now?
Yep.
So here we go. This is an octave, which is a set of 2 quatrains. And then the last one is called a sestet, the last 6 lines in triplet form.
Oh, because it's 8 lines that that basically follow the same format, but then 6. So it's
Right. What's octa? How many is octa?
8,
8. Well, how many is sesta?
6.
6.
Exactly. So you have an octave and a sestet. Let's go back to the Shakespearean. We have 3 quatrains and a heroic couplet.
4, 4, 4, 2. Yep. Okay.
All right.
So this is just the basic structure of each sonnet.
Yeah, it's like pieces of a puzzle, you know? Like if you want to write in this form, you literally have to think about it like mathematically, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like syllable-wise and rhyme-wise, and you have to have it in this exact scheme, or else it's not a sonnet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about. It's called a sestina. This one's really this one's a little unusual. I'm sorry. Let's skip over the sestina. I meant the rondeau. Now, a rondeau is French. So we did English and Italian. So now I want to talk to you about a French form. Now, this one is 15 lines, all right? But the 15 lines are divided into 3 5-line stanzas, all right? This is how it works. Stanza 1 is AABBA. Stanza 2 is AABC. And stanza 3 is AABBAC. All right? And let's look at an example of that. I have a feeling you're all going to do Shakespeare. Anybody want to attempt a rondeau?
Haha. Well, let's see your example first.
All right.
Before I commit.
So let's look at this here. I'm going to change my screen again. So here's a rondeau. Now, notice that C, the C that we talked about in the refrain, like A B C. It's always going to be set apart a little bit. And what I mean by set apart is, see how it's indented like this?
Mm-hmm.
That means it's set apart, and that's why there's that space when we looked at the PowerPoint. You saw this, C refrain space. See, that is the last line that's set apart from the others and indented differently. But notice the first line isn't supposed to have a refrain, so it's just supposed to be AABBA.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this one isn't a full rondeau because you notice well, here's one. So we have, this one doesn't have a refrain. Now, they didn't choose to indent this one, but you notice it's shorter, right? And it's a repetition. See that repetition here? As I was warmed, as I was warmed.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want to talk about here is we want to talk about the first stanza. Now, you see the stanza difference? Here's stanza number 1, 2, 3, right? We have 3 here. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
So we have 3 stanzas. Now the first one is AABBA. Can somebody point out how that works? AABBA. Can somebody call out the
Sun and done, and then seen and green, and then one rhymes with
one rhymes with the first 2, right?
Yeah.
That's stanza 1. That's good. Now when we're talking about stanza 2, it has to be AAB, and it has to have a C that's set apart. Can somebody find
one fun, and then screen is by itself.
Right. No rhyme on that one.
Yeah, and then one.
But it has to rhyme with these ones. Don't forget that.
So it's AABBC, and then it's AABC.
Yeah, exactly.
The one
It's a
that
little
was stand
complex,
out
right?
warm.
Notice that when we're talking about this, we have to refer back to the other stanza, right? Screen has to rhyme with seen and green.
Seen.
So
right. Now this one is a total different one, as it was warm. So that was that's a C, right? Which is different, right? But the C here has to rhyme with the C here.
I have a question. So with
Yeah.
all these poems, are A's supposed to rhyme with A's?
Yes.
So in the first what is it? The you know what I'm talking about. The first paragraph.
Per stanza.
Stanza, yes. First stanza and the second stanza, their A's have to match all the A's.
Exactly. And the whole entire poem.
So the entire poem
Yes,
has
the whole entire poem. Yeah.
So it
So
can't-
even if you're going on to a new stanza and you have another A, that has to rhyme with the other stanza's A.
Got it.
That's why screen here, this A has to rhyme with these two here, seen and green.
Seen, green, seen, yeah. Screen.
Now, what about the third stanza? What do you see here? What's the rhyme scheme there?
None, begun, seen, glean.
A B B, A, and then C.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah, A, B, B, A, and then C is the refrain that has to rhyme with this one. And the poet chose to repeat the line, which is very common. You know, repetition is why would a poet maybe want to repeat the refrain?
To emphasize what he's trying to get across?
It's kind of like, I think of the refrains as when you're talking about music, like the chorus, right? The chorus in a song usually repeats, right? It has like a catchy, repetition that comes after like the interlude, and then the chorus repeats, that kind of thing. Same way as in a poem, because you have these lines that are called refrains that repeat a lot of times. They repeat, or at least they're rhymed heavily, and they create that sense of like chorus that's similar to like what you think of as a song. Yeah, so this is called a rondeau. This is French. So we looked at English, we looked at Italian, and we looked at French. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. So we have this rondeau structure here, right? And we talked about that. And here's an example, which we just kind of went over. But here's an example where a little, so you guys see the PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
A, B, B, A. That's the first quatrain. A, B, and a refrain. A, B, B, A, and a refrain. That's a rondeau, and that's it. Now, but how many lines is it? How many lines is it?
15, right?
15, right? How's that differ from a sonnet?
Sonnets are...
Sonnet's 14.
Right. So it's one extra line.
Oh, 14, sorry, yeah.
Sonnet's 14.
Yeah, 14. Sounds like more.
What about the meter? Let's talk about the meter. And I'll give you a hint. It's not an iambic pentameter anymore.
We wear the mask that... Yeah, that's 8. Ooh. Not a poem.
Yep.
How many syllables are we talking about?
8. Is that
Right.
8 in each?
Yeah, this one's a little different. I'm going to be honest with you. Rondeaus are usually written in iambic pentameter. This one isn't. So there is a little bit of flexibility there with meter when we're talking about rondeaus, but sonnets have to be in iambic pentameter. Yeah, here we're talking about like an eight syllables each, except for the refrain. How many syllables is the refrain?
4? Let me see. We wear the
How many?
mask.
2.
Somebody
Is
said
it 4?
4. Yeah, 4.
4.
Yeah. So you have eight 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, and then you have this four syllable refrain. So if you're going to do the rondo, I either want you to do it in iambic pentameter or this octaverse, which is like 8 syllables with the four syllables at the refrain. Does anybody want to do the rondo?
Maybe. Gotta figure it out.
I mean, you guys don't all want to do sonnets, do you?
You think the sonnet is more difficult than the rondo?
I think the sonnet's a little, it's a little more straightforward. This one's a little more complicated, right? So your assignment is to write. Oh, we didn't cover Sistina. I skipped forward to rondo. I'm sorry. Let me go back to Sistina. So this one happens to be, this was very, very challenging, okay? This one's probably more challenging than the rondo. This one is 39 lines.
39 lines. Whoa.
Yeah. And it's 6 sestets, followed by a tercet, which is 3 lines. This one's really, really complicated, but it's fun to do. I think I did one of these ones. So this is the sestet version. It's, well, you have these examples where you have like sestet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have tercets line. Instead of worrying about all that, I'm going to just show you an example.
The sonnet seems like the most easiest one to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think the sestet is a little bit much, to be honest, but
yeah,
it's good to know that there is such a thing. You know what I'll do? I'll change this to can you see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can.
All right. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna say you can do a Shakespearean sonnet.
Okay.
You can do a Spenserian sonnet. Or you can do a rondo. I'm not going to worry about the sestina because we're running out of time. So I don't really want to confuse you right now. Yeah, so you can do Shakespearean sonnet, a Spenserian sonnet, or a rondo. Now to just kind of like cover that over again, this is what the Shakespeare one looks like. A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, G. It's an iambic pentameter. It's 14 lines. The other one, the Spenserian sonnet is A, B, B, A, B, B, A, C, D, E, C, D, E. Now this one has a sestet in it, but I'm not going to let you, it's just too complicated right now. We're running out of time. Let's not worry about sestets.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
One of your office hours, because I think I need a little bit more time to like understand a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. So my office hours are totally different now. What you can do is just email me and we can do a Zoom. We can like do a Zoom one-on-one kind of thing.
Okay, thank you so much, because I actually chatted you and asked you if I was able to record this Zoom, but I guess you were too busy lecturing and you didn't.
No, it's being recorded and I'm going to share it with everybody.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah. I'm going to go back on mute, guys.
Yeah. Can you guys see the, what can you see right now?
Wait, so all of these notes right now are going to go on Blackboard, like this PowerPoint?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's on Blackboard right now, and it's also, I'm going to try to see if I can get this whole video that we did today in the class online as well. So because there's some people that couldn't make it to the Zoom session tonight. So yeah, so again, let's not worry about the sestina. So I changed it here. These are your 3 choices: a Shakespearean sonnet, a Spenserian sonnet, or a rondo. Okay. Who wants to do what? I don't want everybody to do a Shakespeare, right?
Do we have to claim it? All right, I was gonna try rondo, but
oh, nice.
I want to try the rondo.
All right, good. So we have a couple people doing that at least.
Yeah.
What does everyone else want to do?
I'm not sure which one I want to do.
All of them are confusing.
Does anybody have any questions about what I'm asking you to do?
I'm gonna set up the Zoom meeting with you because I have a lot of questions. Like, I am.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty good with Zoom now. I think I figured it out. And just shoot me an email. I can put you on the schedule, and I can give you a private meeting code or whatever.
Thank you so much.
Does anyone else? Yeah, sure.
As this for me is difficult for a lot of people because if we wanted online classes, we would have signed up for online classes. So it's as convenient as it, as sitting in the class, it's just a different feeling. So I'm definitely gonna start that appointment for you because it's different. It's so different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm definitely available. I don't have like specific office hours, so what I'll do is just email me and I can put you on the schedule, and then I'll give you a meeting code, and I can set up the Zoom thing. Does anybody have any confusion about what I'm asking you to do for next Tuesday?
No.
I'm asking you to write your own poem, and it has to be in a Shakespearean form, a Spencerian form, or a rondo. Those are your only choices. If somebody wants to do a sestina and they're looking at the PowerPoint, you can, yeah, so I really just want you to be creative. It is being graded. I'm counting it as an essay, but I want, I value creativity and the fact that you're following the rules. And the rules aren't essay form rules with, citations and things like that. The rules here are what?
Formats?
Yeah, and what? Like what?
Rhyme schemes.
Rhyme scheme, and syllables, right? And lines. Yeah. It has to be 14 lines. If you're doing say you're doing a Shakespeare, 14 lines. Has to be an iambic pentameter, and it has to be in that specific rhyme form, or else it's going to lose points.
Got it.
Is there any questions?
1 week.
Yeah, next Tuesday I have a Dropbox just because I don't trust you guys now. No, I mean it is tempting to sort of like cut and paste somebody else's poem, so I'm gonna make it so that way you can't like do that. Not that I think you would.
So he's expecting.
So you're gonna post this again like on Blackboard, right?
Dropbox, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a Dropbox due next Tuesday by let's say same time 11:59 on next Tuesday. So it gives you a little bit more than a couple hours more than a week. And the Dropbox will close, and I really don't want to accept email submissions because I lose them and I can't find them, and I'm still going back and through people that send me emails with essays and stuff. It's just hard for me because I have so many emails in my inbox. I would really prefer it's all in one place in the Dropbox. So if you're having a problem with the Dropbox, let me know ahead of time. That way I can settle the problem before before you have to like miss the deadline, and then all of a sudden, you have to email me something afterwards or whatever, because that's just, for me, it's hard because I lose it, Mm-hmm. Who here has sent me an email essay? Shanae?
Yeah, I sent
Yvonne?
you. Mm-hmm.
Who else?
I didn't send you an essay at all.
We need to talk. Who else has sent me an email essay?
I have.
Right, so everybody else got their grade already, and they got the Dropbox and everything?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll see you guys on Thursday. What I want you to do is read the poems on the syllabus. Now, those ones are going to be, I'll tell you right now.
And so isn't Thursday like spring break?
I know we can't do spring break because we just lost like a month, so I got to work right through it. I know it's hard to do that, but
one of my other professors told me that 8th to 10th we don't have courses.
I know, but see, the thing of it is that like I haven't had class in about a month, so I have to make up this last time.
Because you were the only one that was not live. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, so we missed so much time that I really need to utilize this time. But if you're on vacation or something and you're away, I will still be taping these sessions, and you can watch them after class.
Okay, so when we join the Zoom, does that count for attendance for the lecture?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Am I late?
Oh, what I wanted to, what was I going to say? I was going to say something.
You were gonna say about
Oh, the
the
syllabus,
emailed
syllabus.
essays.
No, I was going to say about the syllabus. Here, can you see my syllabus? Let me see.
The one that you handed out in class, right?
Here it is.
Was
These are
that-
the ones I want you to read for Thursday.
Wait, is this a
It's on the
revised?
syllabus that you gave us, right?
Yeah, but it's right here too. Can you see?
Yeah, but is it revised?
Yeah, revised syllabus that's online. Yeah, I mean clearly the dates are off, but these are the ones I need you to read for Thursday. Now you're going to notice a big difference. So what I'm going to ask you to do is write in the forum like we used to for Thursday, and I'll post a question.
Okay. Also, one question: the lates and absences thing, does that still apply, or?
No, I'm not really worried about that anymore.
Okay, cool.
But I do need you guys to come to these sessions, or else there's no class.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, I'll be here.
What? What? I can't hear you.
someone has to put their phone on mute. But yeah, if you don't come to the classes, then you just wouldn't understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's going to be a real problem if you guys can't make these classes.
Yeah,
'Cause
especially like if someone were to miss
tonight.
today's lesson, they will be really lost on how to
Think
write.
about tonight. If I'm asking you to write a poem and I'm talking to you about ABAB and all this stuff, you're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. So I really need you guys to make these classes.
Professor, I have a question, because I would like that to have the question posted in the discussion board with a few days ahead, not like Wednesday evening or Tuesday evening or something like that, because I really have 4 other classes and the homework is really piling up because now everything is online. So I need to space up all my assignments.
Okay. So you can't do it by Thursday, you're saying?
No, I can do it, but for example, if it's posted late Tuesday evening, it's gonna be an issue because I also have to do homework for other my other classes.
What if I post it right after I get off here?
If it's today, it's perfect. But I mean that if it's next week, Monday, Tuesday, then it's like too close for a due day on Thursday. That's what I mean.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to do it right when I close this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Any other questions?
Got it.
Just shoot me an email if you want to schedule a one-on-one. Definitely open to that, because, this is all like new to all of us. So, but actually I don't feel that uncomfortable with it as I thought I would. So
Yes.
we'll do the best we can. And
Thing as in the classroom. But
at
just
least we're
have
not in that hot classroom. That classroom is disgusting. Aisha, are you still there?
I'm here.
Remember that classroom from last semester?
I do. Yeah. Still the same.
little-
Hot and funky.
It's got a strange smell to it. I don't actually miss the classroom. And it's so hot and you can't change the temperature. It's like locked.
Exactly. You just got to deal with it.
Now you get a nice view of my kitchen.
Nice. Open the cabinets. No, I'm kidding.
All right, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Shoot me an email if you have any questions, okay?
Okay, I definitely
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.